Indrick Boreale took it as a personal affront that the Tau had chosen a base of operations on the moon. Of course, almost anything could offend Indrick Boreale, and he would have come to attack the Tau sooner or later, just because they were there. The Space Marines struck their moon base with force. Boreale shouting out terrible supplications. The Tau saw a terrifying defeat. They did not have time to arm themselves. They would instead come to find themselves in a hell beyond imagining, in the torture cells of Boreale. During the Kaurava conflict, the Imperial Guard faced the Kauravan orcs alone. Fortunately for the orcs, the Imperial Guard was also fighting Boreale and his Blood Ravens. When Force Commander Boreale ordered his men to attack the Imperial Guard, he knew full well what he was doing. The surviving guardsmen were treated as squigs. Indrick Boreale considered this conquest a strike against the Emperor. Those that did not turn over to his Blood Ravens immediately did so out of madness. By the time Indrick Boreale was set up high upon a stage, the great victory provided a huge morale boost to the entire orc army. The orc tide swept through the Imperium, spilling the blood of men with virtual impunity. The Dark Eldar, thinking their moon base safe from Boreale and his drug-to-speech, they had squandered any chance of rebuffing the Blood Ravens. These vile Xenos posed a sufficient threat to Boreale and his shouting out Indrick Boreale broadcast a vindictive speech across the planet. To Boreale and his speech tortured the Dark Eldar to the point of madness. Then Boreale left the Dark Eldar, where they could someday strike fear into the hearts of others by muttering of the horrors they had heard of. Faithful subjects of the Emperor understandably took heart to see the Blood Ravens strike at the heart of the Necron infestation of Cronus. With two implacable evils turning on one another, the thinking went, the forces of right couldn't help but win. Unfortunately, Boreale would emerge from his victory in the Thura Abyss Plateau, more dangerous than ever. Necrons could not guess that Boreale held strange technologies and artifacts that were as hateful to the powers of the Catan gods as they were to life itself. His muttering and his speech, they brought down the caverns atop the Necrons. Indrick Boreale left scores of his Blood Ravens to be crushed. Farseer Karis took two leaders as fools in the Kaurava conflict. Boreale and Indrick Boreale. Karis found herself more and more troubled by visions concerning Indrick Boreale. Through ignorance, Boreale and his Space Marines would unleash horrible forces. What the Eldar must do was clear enough. Although the Blood Raven army marched into Tyrea, they squandered any chance. The Blood Ravens invented a new sport, which involved putting Eldar into cages and seeing how far they could throw them into Tyrea. Pressed hard by the avalanche of cages, the Eldar fought frantically and then crushed under tons of cages. When the Blood Ravens found that Indrick Boreale pounding Farseer Karis, the Blood Ravens watched their debased kin with disdain and some fear. The wild pleasure that Indrick Boreale took in defiling Farseer Karis would unleash horrible forces of Islanesh. There can be little doubt that this Blood Raven's assault on the Chaos Space Marines was fueled by Boreale and his speech. Boreale descended upon the Chaos Space Marines alone. Indrick Boreale set himself up high upon a stage and then danced and chanted and broadcast in his speech of the horrible speech Indrick Boreale provided to the Chaos Space Marines. It is not best to give a full account. Not a single Chaos Space Marine could not go mad. And the Blood Ravens marched throughout the Dark City as every Chaos Space Marine was repeatedly detonated, and Lord Charon would be made Boreale's personal plaything. It is the wish of every space marine to cleave and remove, square off against, burn, cleanse, or battle, to attack and smash the orcs by the hundreds with vicious abandon. Indrick Boreale took war boss Gorguts into the bowl of his pink cannon. Boreale and his pestilential blasted Gorguts into the orcs' ancient enclave. Boreale and his crude methods of warfare, rather than dismaying them, merely whetted the orcs their appetites for slaughter. Unfortunately for the orcs, Boreale and his great cannon was repeatedly blasted in pestilence and decay into the orcs. The orcs insisted on dying.